Nothing, and I seriously mean nothing, I say about 2020 being a terrible year for everyone hasn't already been said. What I will say is that 2020 for gaming has been phenomenal. Kinda. Just a little bit. Kinda. We got one of the best games ever to survive a global pandemic with. We got a game whose development was so hyped over the course of decades that when it released, it was, great. Thought I was talking about Cyberpunk, huh? No. I'm talking about this disaster of a corny ass game, which is very pretty, I will say. We also got to see just how evil a video game corporation can be by showing us how little they care about their fans, lying to us about something we care about so deeply and something we've become emotionally invested in because, well, games can be some very good de-stressors, and they're a healthy escape to what this world has given us this year. Thought I was talking about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red again, huh? Well, no. I'm talking about this hollowed out, soulless excuse of video game company doing limited releases with no explanation, shutting down tournaments, and shutting down fan creations. So, was 2020 any good for gaming? Well, I'll for one say that we got some very good games, all things considered. Good games from indie developers such as Hades, which gave us memorable characters, fun gameplay, and a riveting world to lose ourselves in. This year also gave us Kentucky Route Zero, which has zero to do with the KFC console. I am a wordsmith. This year also gave us AAA games that, well, whatever people might say about, they were pretty alright. We got games such as Doom Eternal that dared to not change their classic formula but add to it in order to modernize and spice up the gameplay. You got grapple hooks, rock climbing, and monkey bars to make this game not only a first-person shooter, but now a 3D platformer. This game, even though it delivered on so many fronts, including music, my God, the music is just amazing in this game, was completely robbed of recognition from a certain award show, which I'll refuse to talk about on this summary video. All I'm gonna say is that it was rigged. This year gave us Ghost of Tsushima, which dared to give us what Ubisoft has been avoiding for the past decade or so, a feudal Japanese assassins game with extensive combat dynamics, beautiful environments, and a gripping story. Ghost of Tsushima was a very welcome surprise from a studio that's not known for open world historical games. It's even become one of my favorite games of this generation. Of this past generation, because, well, now we're in the next generation, but I'll touch upon that later. Even though the game wasn't perfect, it delivered a very satisfying experience to play through. The characters' backstories were extremely engaging that at the end of the game, it's what I remembered the most. Don't get me wrong, the main story is well written as well, but family angst can only go so far before it just reminds you of your own family. We also got what is hopefully the turning point for the Paper Mario series with Paper Mario: The Origami King. I'm not the best person to explain as to why this new game in the series is a breath of fresh air, as I have yet to finish a single Paper Mario game. Yes, including this one. But I can assure you that this game, despite its shortcomings, is a breath of fresh air from what has been a very grim year. The worlds immerse you, the characters captivate you, and the music takes you on a very enjoyable experience. Even though we got some less than welcome words from the game's producer, I hope deep down that Nintendo goes back to the golden age of Paper Mario, where more of their characters were memorable and the gameplay, albeit repetitive, proved to be effective. We also got not so great games that, well, they're kind of the elephant in the room. Yeah, I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077. There were some huge disappointments this year, and this was probably the biggest disappointment of all. From the fiasco that was this game's release, from the lies we were given by CD Projekt Red, all the way to the funny bugs this game has produced. Cyberpunk 2077 also gave us what is now a case study on PR and game releases that every single person can learn from on how to not handle business. The game, despite being a very well written game, is obscured by the ongoing drama that surrounds it. I'm still playing through the game. I'm kind of neglecting the main story as I find myself completely enthralled with the game's side missions. And I'm also kind of waiting for the game to be finished in a sense, because it's still unfinished. This is an alpha release. I hope open world devs and writers can look past the game's shortcomings and take a note or two on how side quests should be designed / written. Currently, the studio CD Projekt Red finds itself in a legal battle with investors that, well, is probably only going to end up worse for them. So I really do hope that there is a conclusion to this saga. We also got games such as Final Fantasy VII Remake, which serve as an example on how not to design your games if you want to stretch out the content. What is essentially the first 5 hours of the original game were stretched out to create a 30-hour game, which in essence is cost effective but not very gamer happiness effective. As much as I love this game for its beautiful imagery, astounding soundtrack, and captivating story, although it can be a little bit corny sometimes, I can't help but remember the game as nothing more than this.
Can't wait to see you, Marlene.
Can't wait to take a hot shower.
This game quickly became a chore to explore. Even though it's an RPG, there's not much to do aside from the main story. You end up just going through the motions and kinda end up just playing the game because its source material is so iconic. I just hope and wish the second part does not fall victim to the same shortcomings, but I mean, who even listens to me anymore? We also got games such as Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which just went ahead and reminded us how ass backward Nintendo is as a company. This game, even though welcome as we were due N64 and GameCube games on the Switch, didn't add anything new. Sure, you got a collection of 3D Mario games, but no upgrades were given to the game whatsoever, and we were still charged a full $60 for a collection of old-ass games. Mind you, these were also emulated games. This was a slap to the face to Nintendo fans who've been shut down by Nintendo for emulating and modding their games. We got a lazy collection of Mario games, and to add insult to injury, they were a limited release, meaning that this collection will not be available after March of next year. So it's fuck you, fuck your feelings, and fuck your money. If anything, this shows us that these corporations are not above screwing us for no apparent reason. They just want to see the world burn. We also got the worst tidbits of gaming to date. We got what was essentially the worst console launch in history. I mean, I don't even have to go into detail. If you follow me on Twitter, you know how much of an issue it was to get a PS5. Like, I literally lost years of my life because of it. The pandemic didn't necessarily help with stock being so limited, as all sales were exclusive to online orders, and while shipping proved to be an issue, I was barely able to cop a PS5 because, well, I'm just nice with it. No, but in all seriousness, I feel for everyone who doesn't have a next-gen console and really wants one, and I'll say this thousands and thousands upon thousands of times. Fuck scalpers, and fuck you too if you're a scalper. Happy New Year. Now, this year wasn't perfect by any means. Like, I don't think it even reaches the word decent. It was a terrible year. Regardless of who you are, regardless of your situation, it was just a terrible, terrible year. Terrible year for the average Joe. Terrible year for gamers. Terrible year for every single person who has lost their job, who has lost a loved one. It just has been negatively affected by what's happened throughout the whole year. But I really hope, and I really, really do wish that at least a game made you smile this year. There were a lot of good games that came out this year. There was a lot of drama in the gaming community this year, and I won't go into detail about it, but I think this year really was a surprise year. We saw games that we just didn't expect to be that big, be big. Games such as Animal Crossing, which kind of harness and kind of nurture this environment of just relaxation, fun, and just good feelings overall. We also saw indie developers get their praises and their flowers with games such as Hades. You know, it kind of reminded me of just how good indie developers can actually be with their games and just how much more we gotta support indie studios. All in all, this year has been a very tough year for me. I luckily didn't lose my job. I still have a full-time job. I'm still, gainfully employed. I've grown as a creator. Have grown as a gamer. I've grown as a person in general. And I'm just very, very grateful this year to be able to play video games. To have been born on the same timeline or on the same era as video games. Like, we've reached a certain point in video game that I just feel excited for the next video game release. Like, I'm a kid again. The Switch had a big part in it. Next gen consoles had a big part in it. The accessibility of just cool hardware made this possible. And I just want to say to all developers out there, thank you. Thank you for putting out great games. Thank you for putting your heart and soul into these games that, whether through your fault or not, which, let's be honest, most of the time it's never your fault, but they've been put out and they've brought a lot of happiness to me, and I know to many, many people out there. So, was 2020 any good for gaming? I'll leave that up to you. Folks, I've been True Fernie. If you like this video, please go ahead and like it and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I really hope you still stick around. Leave a dislike. I really do not care. Just tell me what you want to see in these videos. I am always open for feedback. Links to my socials are down below. Please make sure to follow me on all that social media garbage, which I'm trying to step away from moving forward. I kind of lose a lot of time on it. So I just want to say thank you to every single person who stuck around watching my videos throughout the year. I really, really appreciate every single person who always gives me a good message, leaves a YouTube comment, stops by on my Twitch streams and just says hello. Any single thing, any single message on Twitter, anything is greatly appreciated. I do this because I love video games. I do this because I'm a creator at heart. I do this because I love this. Thank you. Please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself. Peace, and see you next year.